All right. So we only have three more classes today and Monday and Wednesday, and then we don't have anything until Easter, which wasn't my fault. Any thoughts about anything? Do you want my thoughts on the last test? All right, so algorithmically, I could solve both of them fairly quickly, but would I expect you to be able to do it? Well, the one is basically breadth first search, which we haven't covered. He specifically said he's not even doing graphs. So our next topic is graphs, and I haven't gotten a straight answer for which graphs he's covering. But so, all right, so maybe, I mean, it's only breadth first search on a tree. I've gotten different reports whether you had a homework assignment on it. Some people said you sort of had a homework. And then right, so, I mean, let me just tell you how I would do that. I mean, we have a tree and then a tree, so you get here's all the children at this layer, right? So let's I'm all about loop invariance. So let's assume that they're all stored in an array. And you've printed them in one direction or the other. And you've stored up here which direction you printed them, right? So my loop invariant is, let's say, a row is in an array, and I've printed them in one direction. So what do? Is I have to make progress. So I have to take the next row, and how do I do that? Well, for every guy here, I go through every guy here, he's here somewhere. I find out who his children are. I take his children, and and I stick them in here, right? So you fill in this array. So you go through this array, filling in this array, and this array could be longer, right? It actually could be shorter because some people might not have children at all, right? Population of Canada is going down because people aren't having children, right? And then once you have this here, well, I printed these this way, so I'm going to print these this way, right? So that's the algorithm. Now, I can think about that standing in front of you in a few minutes, but how long would it take me to code it up? I don't know. I'm not a coding expert. I haven't practiced coding. I certainly couldn't code it up, and so that's one problem, right? Then what's the next one? Were there rabbits involved? Hungry rabbit. I didn't get the rabbit bit. I heard that it was knapsack problem where you couldn't store consecutive objects. Right? Right, so we have a bunch of objects. Object 1, object 2, right up until object n. And then, I mean, I don't know how it relates to rabbits, but you have a knapsack and you say, which of these objects can I put in here to maximize my profit under the constraint that if you have object I in here, you can't have both object I and object I plus 1. Right? Is that the problem? All right, well, yeah. Oh, two objects from the same branch of the tree. What's a branch of the, what's? Well, what tree? There's a tree? All right, how does the tree relate? Oh, the objects are in a tree. And if you take this object, you can't take any of its children. Oh, holy Lord, are you serious? If you take this one, you can take one more child in the tree, but not two children in the tree. Right. For each branch, right. So I can take at most two. Okay. And then what was the neighbor thing? You can't take any of its direct children. You can take one of its children.
Well, like, let's say like one at the root.
Right.
The two children, there's one and one on left and right.
Uh-huh.
And then each one, like the left side has one children going down, and then like two. Yeah, and then the other one inside, same thing. Oh, this one. You would take like one, which is the root.
You would take this one and this one and this one and this one. Oh, so there's actually not a knapsack of a certain volume. All right, so. Oh, these two. Right, but well, if you took this, why can't you take this one? I thought you said if I took this, oh, if I take this, then I can't take their children. Right.
In the garden, and you cannot eat from the neighbor garden, and you're trying to find out what's the maximum amount of garden you can eat.
Right. All right. So, I mean, the way these recursive I like a little bird because if we have bunnies, we need birds, right? So you have this tree, and I have to decide whether to take the root or not. And if she says take it, then we have to kill all. You say you can't take any of the children, right? But now we have grandchildren, and can I only take one more guy? Well, then how did you get both of these? Per branch. Oh, I can't do him, but then I can take at most one from down here.
Hello,
Are you sure about you only can take one? I mean, that seems like it's such a
Professor?
silly rule. Total.
But like you can only take a pair from each branch.
Can't take consecutive. Yeah. I mean, saying you can't take consecutive nodes, I can handle. These other weird things seem weird to me. And we got anybody other confirmation? All right. I mean, that's easier. I'm not sure I'm convinced that what you're saying is true. I mean, can we just say that you can never take a child and its parent? I mean, that I can handle. You can't take siblings. You can't take any two in the same generation. You can't.
Something about two. I remember something about two. Like you chose.
What?
No, in the like when he wrote it, it was like maximum two of something, but I don't remember what that something was.
Well, why don't we just, if we can't take a node and its children, then I certainly know how to solve it. What? Yeah, you can't take both. All right. So then we're going to say, hey, do we take the parent or not, right? And if I take the parent, then I can't take any of the children. So I loop over grandchildren and at G, right? For all these grandchildren, I consider them, and I recurse, say, hey, what can I do for this grandchildren? And then I'm going to union all, then somehow union equals all these guys plus the r equals the root. Now, you might not be able to understand this, but let me explain it, right? So the case one, take root, right? All right, so if you take root, we're going to form, R is going to be the things we're going to take, right? And how are we going to get them? We're going to start with putting the root in it. And then I'm going to consider each grandchild. And when I'm considering the grandchild, I recurse, and it tells me what's the best thing to take from this tree, right? And it says take this, this, and this. And I just union together everything that these tell me to take. Here I'm going over all, this says to take this one says to take these. I just union them all together with the root. And that's my solution. Yeah? What? I have, that's a thing about how do you loop over grandchildren. I mean, you loop over all children. I don't know, you should be able to loop over grandchildren. I mean, the one we were doing on the board seems pretty complicated, how to even loop over the children, but as a theory person, I should be able to loop over the grandchildren, right? I guess you would have a loop over the children, and then within that, you would have a loop over the children, right? And then case two is you don't take the root, right? Then we start with nothing, and we loop over the children, and we somehow union up children C over the children, right? You get the solution for every child, and you union them together. Oh, right. No, I'm just saying we're going to solve this, and we're going to solve through this, and then what do we return? The better of the two, right? Now, could I code this up in an hour? 20 minutes? Absolutely not. All right, so I did talk to Jackie today, and he kind of said, yeah, maybe theirs was a little hard. Maybe I'm going to make the other people's a little easier, and we'll adjust the marks somehow. And then, right, so let me tell you my opinion of things is in the end, the way I give marks out is I have to sort the people, right? And how do I sort them? Well, we're going to take all your various marks, and it'll produce some mark, and then we'll sort you based on that mark, right? And yeah, I mean, there can be some. My guess is that the marks on these tests here, my feeling is that half of you are going to get a 0, if not 2/3 of you, if not 90% of you, right? And then the people who manage to get one of the questions will get some mark, and that will move them up in the ordering, right? And I'll try to think about how to do it so it's that they're not moved up too much, right? We shouldn't move them to the top of the list. And then we'll just give everybody a mark, based on this ordering. So I wouldn't panic. Yes.
Off the class, if they got 0, then how is that going to be termed? You're all in the same rank, like whoever got 0, you're all in the same rank, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So So let me tell you how I've done things in the past. I haven't had programming things, right? And if somebody is sick, then this mark gets moved over here. But suppose this average and this average are completely different, then this transfer is not really fair, right? So I move these around so that it's a nice distribution. What's a nice distribution? This is fail, and maybe 5% fail. And to fail, I look over your stuff. The people who fail really don't know anything, right? I mean, look around the class here. You know how many people are in the class. Half the class isn't even here, right? My fantasy is that people here don't become part of the 5%, right? But I don't have a lot of data on that because I don't keep attendance, right? And then here we want a nice bell curve, right? So you do that for this and you do that for this, you average them together, you get a mark, and then you do this to it again. It's pretty straightforward. Now, this one, as said, we're going to get zeros, and then we're going to get some, maybe we get a 70. So how do we move this around? Well, one good thing is there's no transferring back and forth here. Jackie's pretty clear. If you didn't do it, you get a 0. But that's not so bad. You're just going to join the 90%, right? Right, so I'm not going to lose sleep over that. If you didn't do it, you probably would get a 0, right? So then it's really, how do we take these people and kind of move them into this list? We want to bump them up a little bit in this list, but we don't want them to dominate the list. And I would have, right, the official thing is I think this is worth 20%, and so I'd say 20% of this, and 80% of these things. I don't know the exact number. And we could see how much does having 20% of this move you up in the list. And I don't know what's really fair anyway. But the thing is, if I move this a bit, the zeros are, you might say 0 stays 0, but a linear shift is you multiply by something and you add something. Right? So, I mean, here's one thing I often do is suppose you have a distribution here, you can kind of say what's kind of the bottom and what's kind of the top. And then I want this distribution, right? So you look at various equations that move this here and this here, and there are linear equations that do that, right? 0. In fact, let me tell you something about, I have strong feelings about the 0, right? Because it's a good base case. But another thing I feel is if you have a percentage, then 0's here, 50's here, 100's here. So this is failure, right? And 0, in my opinion, is a long ways from failure, right? So if you get 0 in something, it hurts, right? But if you convert it over to GPA, right, the best you can do is a 9, a failure is a 2, and zero's only here. I mean, relatively, right? So, I mean, this is what we call a nonlinear, it's a nonlinear map. So there are ways of playing with these, right? So the way I would think about it is think about the zeros. We're not going to affect the ordering at all. And the people who get something, we'll move them up a bit in the ordering, right? I think that's what we're talking. I'm creative, right? And I'll tell you another truth in my life. When I do these mappings, I try to keep them secret. And the reason I keep them secret is because somebody will always complain. And I don't like, right? And if I don't tell you the map, if I tell you your mark, then you'll say, oh, my mark is better than I thought it was going to be. But you don't know how everybody else's mark is. And so you don't know how much I bump at people, right? And then I get fewer complaints. Truth be told. Everybody good? This is kind of what we're doing. And what's the exam going to be? Right? The 3 professors are going to change questions. Oh, I asked them about picture versus code, right? I said, if we were doing insertion into a AVL tree, would you make them write code or would you draw pictures? And he said, pictures, maybe a little code. I said, really, a little code? What was that? Yeah, right? So that's where we are, okay? And any question that gets on the exam has to be approved by me, right? I'm going to say, if you were sitting in this class doing the homeworks, would I think you should be able to do it? And I'm going to judge whether I think you should be able to do it, right? Yeah. 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 Yes. Yes. Yeah, so here, what I'm committed to doing is if he submits a question that I don't think that we covered, I have 2 options. The one option is he can put it on his exam, it won't be on our exam. And the other option is I can not tell you that I'm doing this, but if it happens soon, I can start covering it in the next couple of days, right? Those are my options. But I'm not going to put anything on the exam that I don't think you can do. That's all I can do for you, right? Everybody good? Oh, now that we're saying that, I do think everybody should do course evaluations, all right? And in the past, we did it in class, and then there were years we didn't do it in class, and nobody was doing it, and now there's recommendation. We do it in class again, but half of you aren't even here, right? So we can decide whether we want to do it in class, but do it, right? And why do you do it? Well, it really gives us feedback, right? You can say, I like the coding. I wish I was in Jackie's class that had all the coding, and I didn't like all this fairy godmother bird stuff that Jeff does. You could say that, right? Or you could say, oh, I liked, you can tell us what you like and what you don't like. That's what we need, right? And you might say that the mesh of us together, is a bit confusing, right? And I mean, why did it happen? Well, I've been here 30 years. Sometimes they try to get us to coordinate and sometimes they don't, right? In the last few years, there's a pressure to get us to coordinate. Why? Because clearly Jackie and I are teaching different courses, right? And now, you know, I'm 20 years Jackie's senior, but he's my boss right now. He's the coordinator, right? So does he have the nerve to say, Jeff, you got to do it this way? No, he doesn't quite have that nerve, right? So I still do it my way and he does it his way, but we're coordinated, right? And you could say in the course reviews, that was dumb. Either coordinate or don't coordinate, right? So that's what I'm just saying. If you have a complaint, fill out the course reviews, right? It's really quite straightforward, right? And if you like something, say that too, because we all like positive things, right? Okay? Everybody know how to do it? All right. So we're going to do hashing here. And you know what level of math we should go into? I don't know, but we'll do it. And if it gets too math scary, we'll brush over it or not worry about it, right? All right, so here, what are we doing?